Okay, I was gonna say let's kick this off. It looks like some people are still trying to get in. Do you want to just watch that?
Yep.
Up there? Awesome. Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
We're so excited. What a way to kick off not only a Monday, but a beginning of a month. So pumped. So we tonight are going to be talking about how to plan 30 days of social media content in 5 days. You guys are about to become some professionals. So what does tonight have in store? Tonight we are diving into finding your ideal client, copywriting, systems to create 30 days of content in 5 days, how to create captions that convert. Now, I know it can be really tempting to kind of be on your phone, let's be honest, like we all have these next to us, and we want you to be sharing about tonight and what you're learning, but for the next 35, 40 minutes, we hope that you just really take this time for yourself and that you kind of put that phone aside and really allow yourself to just take in all the information, and then tag us on Instagram,
right.
so we can share the story later. So with that being said, let's jump on in. Now, before we start talking about all the ins and outs of copywriting, because that's what the biggest struggle is when it comes to creating content for 30 days, is half the time people are like, copywriting isn't my thing. And so before we dive into that, let's really chat about where your ideal followers are hiding. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever been sitting there and you're like scrolling through Instagram and you're like, man, all of these people know who their ideal client is. They know who their followers are. Sally up the road is gaining 50 people a day because she knows who she's talking to. And you kind of feel like maybe your followers are hiding. Always, right? So we're gonna jump in and figure out where your ideal followers are hiding. We're gonna find them. Don't you even sweat it. In order to find your ideal followers, we need to learn how to attract and captivate the right people. So just kind of take some time and ask yourself, who are you speaking to when you're writing this copy? What does your ideal client struggle with? And if you're sitting there right now and you're like, I don't know. I don't really know what her or his struggles are on a daily basis. Don't worry. We're going to give you the steps to be able to figure that out. And how does your ideal client spend their downtime? What are their hobbies? What do they like to read? Who are they following on Instagram? The more you can know who this person is, the more you can write content that is so specific to them that when they read it, they're like, hallelujah, she understands me. And that's what we want, right? We want to create 30 days of copy that converts.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk a little bit about how to attract and captivate the right people, and this is an example. So
it's a good example.
It's a good example. It all starts with your bio. Is your Instagram bio so specific to what people are going to get when they come to your page, or is it just a little bit muddy? And is it about the person who's coming? So I mean, this is a journey, y'all. This is a big journey. But when somebody comes to my page, they know that I'm here to help them confidently start and scale their own agency. And then they know there's a call to action for them to join our community, and then they can go over to Let's Get Social if they want. And then here on the right-hand side, it's a recent post that I did. This was a batched out copy, and this is really speaking to women who are wanting to start something. Something that we're going to dive in later is making sure that the beginning of your copy grabs their attention. And so having something that says, did you know that last year 11.6 million US businesses were women owned? Like, I don't know about you, but I'd be like, I didn't know that. So those are just like a little bit of what we're going to be diving in the next couple of slides. And so if you're sitting there and you're struggling to really think about how you're going to attract and captivate the right people, Bree's gonna walk you through some steps to help bring some clarity around that.
So if you're narrowed in on your niche and you know who your ideal client is, that's great. But if you're one of us who struggle to really hone in on that person, I would encourage you to do this tonight. You don't have to do this now, but write this down. We want you to look for or think about 5 accounts that you love to follow. Why do you love to follow them? Is it their copy? Is it their image or something, some post they put out, some quote they put out that you love? Is it something about their story that resonates with you? Do you just love the person? So figure out why it is you love to follow them. And then how does their content make you feel when you read it or you see it? Does it encourage you? Does it motivate you? Does it make you want to be a better person, do something new? So think about that. And then if you could take and look back through all of their recent posts, I would go pretty deep down their feed. Dissect their most engaged posts and see what trends you're noticing, because that's usually what helped grow their engagement. It's something in their copy. It's something in the photo. I would really encourage you all to do that and take some time with that. And you know, it's not necessarily about reinventing the wheel. I feel like a lot of times we get so tied up and worried about the fact that somebody has done it. Well, guess what? If somebody's doing it, that means that there's a market out there for it, and we just need to do it slightly different. Put your own spin on it. So really take that time, find those 5 accounts, and that would be an activity I'd have for you guys to do later tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, and if this is making sense to you, and if this is something that you're like, wow, I've never like stepped back and thought about this before, blow up that chat box. We're going to be doing a live Q&A at the end. So like go ham in there. We're going to be diving into it later. And so going off of that, so now you like have an idea of who your ideal client is. Well, now how do we like attract them on social media?
Because you've got to think, if you have a great image and you have great copy, it doesn't matter if nobody's seen it. So using these 3 strategies to attract your ideal follower is going to be crucial. So the first one I like to get into is hashtags. How many hashtags used is something that is like a big source of discussion. How many is right? The thing we've seen is 9 hashtags. However, that's one study. That's one study that says 9. I would encourage you, if you have under 1,000 followers, I would almost max out on your hashtags. 25 to 30 hashtags, use them all that you can. If you're somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000, maybe you can narrow in on that just a little bit, go a little bit smaller on that number, but still utilizing a lot. If you're upwards of 10K followers, I would suggest maybe somewhere in the 10 to 15 range. And this is all just based on trial and error we've had with our own clients and what we've seen work. But what's maybe even more important is focusing in on the hashtags that have under 500,000 posts. And what we mean by that is you don't want to utilize something that has millions of followers. For example, hashtag girl boss is something you would think we would use. But hashtag girl boss has almost 18 million uses, which means we're not going to rank high in the algorithm on Instagram. But hashtag girl boss moment has almost 70,000, only 70,000. So think about that. The chances you're going to be seen in that hashtag are so much higher. It's just going to push you in the algorithm. So look for those that haven't been utilized quite as much. And then make sure you're using hashtags that pertain to your photo and copy. We all love hashtag Taco Tuesday, but if it's a picture of you holding up your ebook you just created, it's probably not going to rank high in the algorithm. So keep that in mind. You want the hashtag to pertain to your photo and to what you're talking about. That's major. The second thing I would say is location. You want to make sure to add your location to almost every photo. Now, that doesn't have to be every photo, but what I would suggest, if you are a business, so we're in Columbus, but if we were just based in Columbus solely, I would say utilize Columbus tag, utilize all the suburban areas and maybe even the outskirts a little bit. But if you're not based, or if your business isn't solely in one location, use the locations for San Francisco, Miami. It doesn't matter. See what takes. There could be somebody searching that city that then finds you. So that's just going to give you even higher chance that you're going to be seen. And last but not least, tag. tag what you're wearing, tag where you are, tag any inspiration accounts. You use Columbus CEO all the time, so she's tagging that local, but then she also uses Girl CEO Inc. That's another one she tags. If somebody's searching that might mean they find you just from searching that. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, now let's take a little dive into copy.
Whew, she loves copy.
We're just warming up, ladies. So when it comes to copywriting and creating these captions that people read and they're like, oh my gosh, take my credit card. Like that's what we all want. That's what we want to do, right? There's 3 crucial pieces of copy that every piece of content needs. And that is a compelling headline. Bree did a beautiful job of this last week in her post. You did. She had her compelling headline at the top, which was like really the only thing that you can see in Instagram when you're scrolling by was please talk behind my back. And then that was from like a podcast and she dove into all this value. But you looked at that and you're like,
I was gonna be a little negative.
What is she going through? You know? So it like caught your attention. And then an irresistible call to action, and then give them a deadline. If you have this amazing offer and then you seal them in with the call to action, but then there's no deadline, well, why would they convert right now? And so you have to give them a deadline. We have a deadline for every single training we do. Yeah. We have a deadline that you can sign up, and it's very like set in stone. Yeah. And there's really no way around that, you know? But yeah, just having a very solid deadline creates that kind of sense of urgency.
We had 100 girls in this. Yeah. We capped it out at 100.
Yeah, we said 100, you're done. So captions that engage, and before we jump into like how to actually, the art behind copywriting, it's really important that we're very clear on what qualifies as engagement, especially on Instagram, since like that controls a lot of your ranking. And so what qualifies as engagement on Instagram is not only people liking and commenting your post, but it's actually when they're saving it, which is like that little bookmark, as well as sending it and sharing it to somebody. And when the more people that are sharing your content, well, man, they basically just become your own PR company for you. And so being able to create that viral content is something that we're also going to dive into. But the more your followers interact with your content, the more frequently you will be placed in front of them, as well as placed on the hashtags, which is so important. And when you know who your ideal client is, speaking their language is so simple. So that is how we really kind of consider engagement. Now, how do we get that engagement? Asking meaningful questions that people will want to respond. Asking somebody something that I love doing, because I love hearing from y'all and like what your goals are, is really putting down there like, hey, what is one thing you're going to accomplish in the next 5 weeks? And not only do we as a community get to cheer you on, like you get to be a part of the content, and we want that, right? We want people to be a part of it, and we want to create a community. Post images that compel people to tag their friends, even when you don't tell them to.
The best.
It's the best. And so really like the kind of the art that we found behind that, and we're going to show you some examples later, is a white background with black words. Like it's not a meme, but it's something in people's minds where they're like, it's not a person, I'm going to tag everyone that I know in this post. Pack your caption with so much value that people can't help but comment and share it. And get transparent with people. Man, there's been so many times I feel like I've used Instagram as my diary, and then people like that. They like to know, like, man, everything's not perfect, you know? And
you're relatable.
And we all know it's not perfect. Yeah. And then reply to every single comment, especially within the first hour. So inside of the algorithm, if you respond to the first not the first comment, but if you respond to all the comments within the first hour, then you go up in the algorithm because it's showing that a lot of people are commenting and that you're being responsive in your side of the app. So the more you can do that, the better. We're going to be talking about some systems that will help you plan out this copy ahead of time. And so knowing and like scheduling your posts around times that you're not going to be able to jump into the app and engage is super important. Okay, and so you've created this beautiful copy, and now you're kind of sitting there and you're like, what do I ask them? What do I ask them to do? And so these are just a couple of examples, like comment below if you've ever felt this way too, tag a friend who inspires you, tag your BFF below. There's so many little things you can kind of drop in there, and it really starts to like create a community. And the cool thing is then people are gonna, like when your posts come up, they're gonna be like, man, I bet you she's asking me something in there. She wants to talk to me. So let's, before we dive into actually creating copy that converts, let's go ahead and just address the reasons why some captions don't convert. The number one reason people fail to make a sale on Instagram is because you simply don't ask. Getting your audience engaging is one thing, but getting them to buy your program or your product or your service, that's a whole nother story. The number two reason why people fail to make a sale on Instagram is because they say what they want to say and not what their ideal client needs to hear. Let's like take that back again. It's because we're saying what we want to say and not what she wants to hear. And once we're so clear on who our ideal client is, having her in the forefront of your mind every single time you're writing copy, you're talking to her because this is for her. The number three reason why people fail to make a sale on Instagram is because you're constantly selling, but you're not providing the proof or really like this free value behind the sale. And when all of this works together, when you have the value and you have the proof and you have the copy, oh, that's where the magic happens. I just got some chills over my body. So let's take a look at captions that convert. A quick example. So for a moment now, let's pretend that you're a travel blogger and you, doesn't that sound nice? Yeah. And you help females plan vacations in the Caribbean. When creating these captions to sell your service or to talk about a new blog post, you wouldn't talk about the mechanics of the airplane or all the steps it takes to book this trip. Instead, you would talk about the feeling of freedom that rushes over you when you step off the airplane, or the warmth of that crystal blue water as it rushes over your feet, and that pina colada in their hand in complete peace of mind. You are literally taking them to the destination that you want them to be at. And that's what amazing captions, that's what it does. It takes the person to the destination of where they want to be, to their future self. Another way to make sure that you are creating copy and you're really creating your credibility is to share your expertise. It's so important to highlight this in your captions, highlight this in your stories, and here are some questions to ask yourself if you're really struggling with like, what is my expertise? What am I bringing? Have you experienced the same pain points that your audience, who you're trying to sell to or who you're trying to attract, is currently experiencing? What is your why? Share the reason why you've created the services and the offering that you have. And what makes you qualified? Share your accomplishments. Something that we love to do is to gather testimonies from people and share those. Because if you can get reviews or testimonies or anything like that, like that is powerful. And what results have you achieved for your clients? That's a really big one. And so let's dive into a little example around how to share your expertise. So if you're a personal trainer, you'd want to highlight the following: your personal journey. You can say, I lost 40 pounds on my own and I learned how to keep it off. Now let me show you how. Your why. When I was going through this journey, I realized that the industry was missing X. Your qualifications. I have my bachelor's in exercise. Like, there's so many things you could say, or you could share a testimony from someone. But when you have those three things that are linking up together, like, that's where you're starting to show people you're the real deal and you're the expert. And the biggest thing is, y'all, I could say this, I don't know, until I'm blue in the face, but it is all about them. It is. There are so many times where people are like, I'm nervous to get on my stories and talk. And I'm like, take yourself out of it. It is about the person on the other end, and you are doing them a disservice if you don't get on there and share knowledge and value with them. And we only kind of think like that when we realize that it is all about them. And so when you're creating copy, really focus on using the word you and kind of taking the I out of it. So we've talked a lot about some amazing kind of tips and ways to create copy. So let's talk about copy that we should be avoiding. Now, we don't want to be negative. This is such an awkward slide. I don't like being negative, but I mean, we need to talk about this. We subconsciously, we don't recognize the negative. So just like the same way, if you're visualizing your goals or you're setting goals, you're not going to say what you don't want to do. You're going to say what you do want to do. And some examples of this is using language, you can't afford to miss this. Well, we shouldn't be telling anyone that they can't afford something when we're trying to sell to them. Instead of saying, don't be late, try saying, show up early. Instead of, don't be worried, try, be confident. There's like the smallest little switches that you can make. And even like when you guys are sitting there, if somebody said to you, don't be late, that does kind of have that negative. Mm-hmm. But if somebody's like, hey, show up early, you're like, yeah, okay.
Maybe I will.
Maybe I will. So now let's talk about your call to action, because it is time to get that yes. If you're going to create something with a call to action, we want that to be a yes at the end.
Yeah.
So ask questions throughout your copy where the answer is yes inside of your ideal client's head. You want them, while they're reading your caption, to be like, yes, she gets me. Oh, wow, she's been there too. So you're already leading them up to when you have a call to action at the end, they're like, where do I send my credit card? Where do you want the information? Because it's just the same way that if we're asking negative questions, even though we're not meaning to, if we're just speaking about ourselves or we're asking negative questions, then their internal dialogue is going to be no, no, no. And so why would that swap to a yes at the end, especially when this is all something that they're reading? So you don't have the opportunity to like speak to them. They don't get to hear your voice. You once again are just creating this photo and this like image for them. Okay, guys, this was a lot so far. Like tonight is jam-packed for you. And that is why we're going to take a dive into content creation. So we've talked a lot about copy. Before we dive into content creation, I want to hear from you guys. How are you feeling? Drop it in the box, in the comment box. Let me know what you're feeling. I'm going to pull up so you can see the chat. Let me know, like, what's been standing out? You guys feeling good? You feel like you're understanding a little bit of like the art to copywriting? It's not as complicated as I feel like sometimes we think. So we are going to, keep lighting that up, and Bree's gonna watch that.
I got you guys.
So now we're gonna talk about content creation. So Instagram is very visual. There's really no way around that. So no matter how wonderful our copy is, you have to find a way to attract your ideal client with an image. So something that a lot of people get really kind of, held up on is they're like, man, I have to take a photo the exact day I'm gonna post it because I need it to be like authentic and real. And I get that. I did that for a really long time, and I was super against like kind of batching out content until I realized that that's actually a really stressful way to live your life. And also then you're not providing the best value that you could. And so I kind of took a step back and was like, how much content do I need? And so I do 4 photo shoots a year with my photographer. We find a location where we can kind of utilize it in a walking distance and like use many different scenes. We bring lots of clothes, and we aim to leave with at least 30 plus days of content. And one of the ways that this is achieved is by shooting different angles from the same position. So if I'm sitting at this table, the photographer could shoot over my shoulder, she could shoot head on, she could shoot from the side, and she could also shoot my hands on the computer. And that's all with me just sitting in one spot. Yeah. And then the amazing thing is when you go to post these and you have all these other images to kind of throw in, it looks like you're in a completely different location every single time. And if you are sitting there and you're like, I don't have a photographer right now, and I really am struggling to find one, set up a tripod and use a Bluetooth like little clicker. This allows you to become your own photographer. It's really a fun way to be able to like kind of see what it's like to be behind the camera and in front of the camera. I used one for a really long time. I used one for a year and a half. If anyone in here is from Columbus, you probably saw me in German Village in the short north with a tripod. So there's no shame in the game, guys. You know, sometimes you gotta get the photo. So Amazon has really great tripods, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend. So you guys are probably sitting there and you're like, yeah, this is all great, love it, but I want to create viral content. I need to be seen. I needed to be seen yesterday. So let's take a little bit of a dive into how you create viral content. We talked earlier about really utilizing a white background with black wording. And as you can see from these examples here, I mean, those perform the best. And I mean, it's obviously a combination of what they say, like who can't relate to, I'm at a place in my life where errands are starting to count as going out. Like, come on, amen, am I right? Especially in the winter. So it's a combination of what's being said on there. But once again, it's not a person's face. And something that's really interesting is that post was sent to 400 people. It was saved by 250 people. And it got over 2,000 likes. And at the time, Let's Get Social's account had 800 people following it. So let's say that one more time. 800 people were following Let's Get Social, and it got over 2,000 likes.
And where are we at now?
We're at almost 1,100, and that's been purely from content like this. We were actually running an experiment on our own account, and we were like, if we don't engage at all, we don't follow, like we're not going and doing the follow back, nothing like that. We're just going to create content like this. We're going to do it every single day. What's it going to look like? And it gained 1,100 people that we didn't follow anyone back when they follow us. And all of, like, at least once a week something goes viral, which is really exciting to see. People also, like, we made a little graph over on the left-hand side, and that was a really great one as well. It didn't actually perform as great as the other ones, as you can see. And then the Morning Lavender one, the reason why that one did so well, and takes us back to like location and tagging, that's a really popular place in California. And so I tagged Morning Lavender. They also have a boutique, and so I tagged the boutique, and then I geotagged as the location, their store. And then all the hashtags were really relevant to it. And that post, that photo, they reposted on their feed. And so I got some people from that, but that was one of the pretty highest performing posts and sends. Because it gives them like a cute little flower truck, you know? There's some things that people are just never gonna not like. Right. So we've like really talked pretty heavy on copywriting. And you can write all this beautiful content, but then if you don't plan it somewhere, you're gonna forget about it again. So Bree's gonna dive into some of the systems that we use every day, and they're really gonna help you plan out that 30 days of content.
Yeah, so for a lot of our clients, you know, we're not posting as much in the moment because it's too hard. You know, you have so many clients, or for yourself, if you're, you know, working another job, trying to do this on the side, you have a family, like you've got to be organized and you have to be planned out. So one of the systems we absolutely love is called Planoly. And that is our system to plan out our posts. It allows us to plan out the copy. It allows us to rearrange to make sure that that grid looks pretty before it ever gets sent out. And it also allows us to auto schedule. Now, I know a lot of people have kind of mixed reviews on auto scheduling. I've heard don't do it, I've heard it's okay. What we found from our own experience with not only our clients, which we auto schedule for that ideal time, so that that post is going out at that ideal time that their clients are on. But we've also found from our own experience with Let's Get Social that those posts that we've sent out have all gone viral, and that's all been auto scheduled. So don't be too scared of auto scheduling, you guys. And that's my one little tip for Planoly too. The other program we use is called Storito. We just recently found this. This is for auto scheduling stories. If you're like me, I'm not as good as her at getting on.
I love talking to you guys
my
every day.
So I'm trying to get more intentional with batching out my stories, things that I know I want to talk about every single day, taking those stories in advance, putting them into Storito, and it actually auto schedules your stories for you. So if you want to make sure something's getting out at a specific time when your audience is online, I'd recommend that. Tailwind we use for scheduling out Pinterest. She can talk about that till she's blue in the face. She loves Tailwind, but that allows you to batch out your pins in a really timely manner. I mean, you can set it for the month and really not have to think about it, and that just gets you ahead of the game. Hashtag Expert for Instagram is an app, and that is what we use to find unique hashtags. So going back to that hashtag girl boss, if I type that in, it's going to list out hundreds of hashtags that are similar to that one, but are all varied. I mean, from how many, a couple hundred posts to thousands of posts. So it's nice to allow you to select and copy and paste over the hashtags you want to use. And to that point, I would stress, do not use the same hashtags back to back. That is one of the biggest no-nos we've found, is if you use hashtags for one post the next day, make sure those are all different. I know that sounds time-consuming, but it has made a huge change with a lot of our posts and just the visibility of them. So use that app to help you randomize and come up with new unique hashtags. And last one is Hashtaggy. And that separates out that text. So if you've ever seen somebody's text and it's really clean with broken lines, and then you go to type it in to Instagram and you hit post and it's all jam-packed together, that's because they used Hashtaggy to separate out the text. So you pop it in there, you copy, you paste it over, and it gives those nice clean breaks. It makes it look really, really pretty.
So pretty. So let's talk about how you can actually create 30 days of content in 5 days. Something that has been a big trial and error is not blocking out the time that was needed. And so every single week I have 1 to 2 days that I don't take any meetings and I am just sitting and writing. I'm not writing for the entire day, but I set aside 2 hours so I can be able to just really dive in and set aside like clear-minded space to write and get ahead. Another thing is reading. Oh wow, I could preach this until I'm blue in the face, but setting aside time to read or listen to podcasts and just dive into something where you're learning. Whenever somebody is like, this is great, but I don't have anything to say, I don't have anything of value, I'm like, well, then you need to read more. Just plain and simple like that. Reading, there's something about it, like it gets those creative juices going, as well as taking down those notes while you're reading. Something that I love to do is I will read, and if something stands out to me, I'll take down a note, and then I'll say, how can I apply this? So how is this going to be applied to my life, or how is this going to be applied to maybe a future caption up the road? And then Canva, those cute little graphics that we were showing before with the white and the black words, we create all of those in Canva. That's all that goes out on Let's Get Social. They have some pink ones that go in, and we can do 30 days of content. We can actually create all of those graphics in about like 2 to 3 hours because we just have that same template that we use and use. And moving past the writer's block, because I know I've been there, where you sit down and you're like, okay, I set aside this time. And then you sit down and you're staring. You're staring at your computer and no words are coming to your mind. But I need you guys to say this with me now. Everyone, like, you're on mute, so it's okay. Nobody's going to hear you. But reading more makes you a better writer, and writing more makes you a better writer. Part of the biggest battle is just starting. reading and writing should truly be a part of your daily routine. It's how I start my mornings. When I was working in corporate America, I would wake up like 15 minutes earlier so I could get a little bit of reading in and kind of get the brain going. And now, since we do so much copywriting, not only for like our brand and clients, like, Lord, if you're not reading, how are you going to move past that? So the more you read and the more you write, the more, like, there's no longer writer's block. And then when you're listening to podcasts, you're going to find yourself taking these notes on, man, this is going to be such an amazing piece of value that I can share in my stories, or I can share in an upcoming post. So we have a little bit of homework, not homework, but like practice for you guys to be able to do. So you can really take what you learned here tonight, because we are huge believers that knowledge without being applied is wasted. So we don't want this to be a wasted 35, 40 minutes of your evening. So what we would love for you guys to do is draft up an Instagram caption to your ideal client using what you've learned here. So create that visual for them. Create a story getting them to the destination that they want to be at. And share your success stories and responses in our private Facebook group. After this little fun thing tonight, you're going to be getting an email. We have a link to our private Facebook group. We're going to have a pinned post at the top, and we want you to you can drop your copy in there. You can drop your stories and your success and how people responded to it in there. We want to celebrate with you. So the challenge in really hitting in these 2 points is don't sell a single thing through this caption. Make it pure value. Make it so when somebody reads that, they're like, wow, my sister needs to read this. My girlfriend needs to read this, and they send it to them. Make them laugh. Make them remember something from their childhood. Show them that you know what their goals are, that you've been there, and that you understand what it's going to take to get to what those goals are. Give them a piece of advice or value. So really pick any of those in there and just pour out the value. And you can still, like, your call to action in that can just be asking them to engage inside of the post. Okay, guys. How are we feeling? We're 40 minutes in. We are about to be diving into your Q&A. I'm gonna pull up, let's pull up the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Okay, there's so many great questions that we're gonna dive into in the question. Let's see. Okay, you guys, let me know how you guys are feeling right now. Are you overwhelmed? Do you feel like you can walk away and start doing this? Tell me. Tell me it all. We want to hear from you. There's so many. Ooh, the being positive blew your mind. Yay. Oh, good. You guys are feeling good. I'm so glad. Okay. Yes. We want we want you guys to feel like you are getting so many things you can walk away with here. So this is exciting. Let's take a moment and kind of, rewind and go over what we covered. So I would say, like, if this was the iceberg, wow, you can't see me in the frame. If this was the iceberg, we kind of grazed the surface. There's a whole lot of information. You're a little overwhelmed?
We got it.
Yeah, we get that. It's a lot. This is a lot of information. There's a lot of moving pieces, but once you start, you're going to be like, okay, I can do this. I can do this again. And so we tonight covered, we skimmed the surface. Yeah. Kind of. What it looks like to know who your client is. We like to call it the client avatar. Who they are, where they are, what they do in their spare time. It's like you're stalking who you want your ideal client to be. Copywriting, and then the systems and scheduling to really be able to take all of this beautiful content that you're creating and then kind of let it go into the world off of your hands. So we're going to be diving into a live Q&A in a couple of moments. So whatever questions you have, drop them in the comment box because we are going to be answering every single one of them. But before we dive in, we would love to take just a couple minutes to introduce you guys to Start Creative. Start Creative gives you the foundation to confidently start a successful online business. And the real value is that you'll have clarity around who your ideal client and market is. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all of this information, Start Creative helps you discover your zone of genius. And we like to call your niche your zone of genius. How to brand your business and be really clear on who your client is. We walk through all of those steps with you. We have practice sessions. So once again, everything you're learning can be applied right now to your business. We also walk you through where to find clients, how to land clients, and using Instagram for warm leads. Now, let's dive into your questions.
I love them. I've seen one coming through, and I know it's about Hashtaggy. You guys are absolutely right. It's a website, and Emily likes to spell it with 2 G's, although I told her when I was proofreading it's 1, and she forgot to change it. So yes, you're right. It's a website.
Nobody's perfect. We're all flawed humans.
It's just why we work really well together.
Yes, really, really well together. Okay, so I'm gonna go up to the very beginning. So Ginger, being positive blew my mind. Yay! I'm so glad. Did you hear? I like the tip of getting little yeses throughout. Yes. I mean, think about it. People want to be saying yes to you. And so if we can kind of switch that and be talking about them, it's amazing. Okay, let's get to the questions. Okay, so do you use Hashtaggy and then copy that into Planoly? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we do that. Will you do your Pinterest training again? Oh, that's such a good question. So right now we have a free Pinterest course, which I'm pretty positive Jamie has taken. And we are working through the Pinterest training. I know I have been saying that for a very long time, but yes, that will be on there. Right now we're offering like one-on-one, but we are working on the Pinterest training. What do you recommend for learning more about Pinterest for business? Oh, yeah, so Pinterest is like, if I could be obsessed with one thing in life, it'd be Pinterest. So our free Pinterest course on our site is a really great way just to like kind of dip your toes, and we talk through Pinterest, like the business aspect of it. And then from there, we do dive into that in all of our trainings because I think that it's so valuable, and we are working on a Pinterest course for you guys. And through the free training, we talk about how to utilize Tailwind, how many pins you should be doing a day, and then the type of content that you should be putting out there.
And I think it's really important too. People think of Pinterest as a social media platform. It's actually more of a search engine. So if you're not utilizing Pinterest and you're a brand or business, you're offering something, oh man, Pinterest is a great way just to get people finding your information. So we don't like to look at it as a social platform, although we all say it is. It's more like a search engine. Like if you would type in Google and you would search for something, you can do the same thing within Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
kind of my little
no, it
cents.
is. It's amazing for driving traffic to your website. Did I hear you say you do not follow everyone back that follows you? So on the Let's Get Social account, we didn't. We wanted to really see if people were going to stick around. And on my, I don't know what you do, but on my account, when somebody follows me, I'll like typically go to their page and look at it. I follow people who like engage with my posts and like message me.
Yep.
And the reason why is because unfortunately there are a lot of people who are doing the follow and follow.
Yeah.
And so just kind of as a simple thing, if people are engaging, then that's what I like.
And that's never going to change. The follow and follow is not going anywhere until Instagram is gone, which probably will be never, until something replaces it, right? Fingers crossed. But yeah, I mean, follow and follow is not the way to go, you guys. It is something we would encourage you not to do, ever.
Yeah, and I mean, like the Let's Get Social account, 1,100 people in 1 year with never, like, and we literally went the opposite of everything we've taught you guys tonight. Like, we don't respond back to
I know, don't listen to us on that.
Well, and part of like our strategy around that was because we wanted to see if viral content can actually bring people and keep them. And so it was very cool and interesting to see that it did create that. And then do you use Facebook directly to schedule posts? Oh, and Planoly for Instagram.
That's a great question. Yeah. Planoly actually allows you to send to Facebook, which is great. So if you are sharing the exact same information from Instagram to Facebook, or you're utilizing the 2 channels to do the exact same thing, there's actually an auto scheduling function that goes to Instagram and also to Facebook. So you can send them both, or you can just set Instagram, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But you could schedule directly in Facebook as well if you wanted to, if there was, unique content that only goes out on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, that's a great question. So with Start Creative, you have the option to pay $197 now, or $99 this month and $99 next month. So give you a little payment plan, a little option. And like I said, first 3, we have another question. First 3, we're having a phone call, and it's a Zoom call that's recorded and uploaded into your student portal. The other thing too, if you guys have any questions about Start Creative, drop them in here. We record all of the trainings, and they're all uploaded into your student portal, so you can see them and you have access to them for life. Like, they don't go away.
Oh, I love this one. Should you use hashtags in your Instagram stories? Yes. And there's a little fun tip that you can actually hide your hashtags. So if you write out all your hashtags and inside the app, inside the Stories app, you can minimize it really, really, really tiny and either hide it behind an emoji, or if you maybe have a white background, you can minimize the white print and hide it. It's awesome. Nobody knows you're using hashtags, but yet you will still be seen in those hashtags, which is like such a fun little bonus.
Absolutely. Can you explain a little more? It appears to be only 2 weeks long. Yes, absolutely. So Start Creative is really for those who are starting and in the early phases of their business. Start Creative gives you the foundation to confidently start a successful business. It is a 2-week program where we dive into discovering your zone of genius, finding your niche. We actually talk about everything legal. So we go through how to do an LLC, contracts, business banking, QuickBooks. And then in the second week, we dive and talk about everything that comes with your client avatar, where your clients are, how to find them, how to utilize Instagram to find those clients, as well as just marketing overall as your business. We have homework each week, which we like to call a practice session, where you take what's being learned and apply it. And then you have a breakout session where it's a very small group. It's like you and 3 or 4 other people, where you get to dive in and apply what is being learned to your business right now. And so that's anything from talking through your marketing strategy, your sales pitch, your client avatar. You have the floor, and we're bouncing off ideas together. It's a really great time to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Should you reshare stories that others have shared that are yours? For example, you tag a restaurant, you ate at, and the story shares your story. Or is that overkill? It's a good question.
That is a great question. I feel like that's personal preference.
Yeah.
I don't usually do it unless it was something like maybe really funny, or I was like, they reshared it and they're a huge brand maybe, then maybe I would reshare it, but I don't typically do that.
No, I mean, if somebody tags you in something, you should absolutely reshare it. But yeah, it's definitely not personal. How long should you wait before you reshare a popular Instagram post, or should you never reshare a post? So when you say a popular Instagram post, do you mean like something that's like trending on Instagram? Like, not like a meme, but kind of like.
So I actually heard this one a couple days ago. They were talking about all the different platforms, social sharing platforms, and they actually suggested you should never reshare an Instagram post.
Ooh.
I know, but Twitter, you should reshare anything that was super popular. LinkedIn, you should reshare a lot of what was popular, even stuff you created yourself. If it like trended in tweets, like you should be putting those out month after month, always. But they said Instagram is one place where you should not reshare the same thing you put out. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I reshare some photos with different captions.
Yeah, so I've one of my posts that went viral, it tanked the first time, and it was a picture of me. And then the second time it performed so well, and it was that white background with the black wording, and it was the same copy. And so I guess it was different.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, guys, we have a couple more minutes. Do you have any more questions? Drop them in. We're so excited. The remaining few. You guys have lasted. Ooh, do you have any Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, pull out your pen. So I love Lewis Howes' podcast. He's great. Julie Solomon, the Influencer Podcast. That's a really great one. I also listen to Ed Milet. He's amazing. I also really like the Guide Culture Podcast. That's a really good one. And then
Boss Babes.
Yeah,
Boss Babes one I've started to listen to recently. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else.
And that's something in our lead creative that we talk a lot about.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley knows that. She's like, oh yeah, I heard all of things. But yeah, podcasts are amazing, especially when you're like going for a walk or something.
Well, or if you're writing, from your job, your 9 to 5, she's a big avid reader, and I wish I had more time to read, but I don't. So I throw on my favorite podcast from my commute each day.
Did you hear that nervous laugh? She said, I think you guys need a podcast.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it, and that's like on our list of 15 million things that we want to try to do someday. We're chipping away at them really slowly. We want to make sure we're giving you guys like really valuable content and not just like skimming the surface on all those things.
Yeah.
But I feel like we like to hear ourselves talk, so maybe.
You like to hear me talk, and I like to hear you talk.
It's so true.
Yeah, well, this was so fun tonight, ladies. Tag us in all the things on Instagram so we can reshare it. You can tag Let's Get Social. You can tag myself. You can tag Bree.
Yeah, please do.
Yes. And we can't wait to talk to you guys soon. You guys are going to be receiving some emails with where to like do all the things from now. All right, you guys have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye.